political commentator Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. So we're here commemorating June 19, 1865, when Major General Gordon Granger went into Galveston, Texas to deliver what's known as General Order Number 3. But contrary to what you hear in the media, Juneteenth was not the last day of slavery. So we have to correct the history of Juneteenth and protect the history of Juneteenth, okay? There were 250,000 enslaved Africans in Texas in June of 1865, all right? Now he's delivering General Order Number 3 that's enforcing the Emancipation Proclamation. Now contrary to what we heard in school, the Emancipation Proclamation issued January 1st, 1863, did not free the slaves either, okay? So we know that the Civil War, during the Civil War, General Robert E. Lee surrenders April 9th, 1865, right? You remember that in class, in school? Okay? Anybody ever see the TV show, The Dukes of Hazzard? What was the name of the car that they drove? The General Lee. What was the name guy? General Robert E. Lee. Exactly. The traitor to the Union. Okay? All right, so what happens is General Robert E. Lee surrenders, but contrary to what we heard in school, the U.S. Civil War is going to continue for another 16 months. How many people know that? Okay? There was a battle in Texas during the Civil War, took place May 12, 1865. Palmetto Ranch in Texas, and this was the last land battle of the Civil War. Well, what happens is you got 2,000 Union troops that come into Galveston, Texas, June 19, 1865, to deliver General Order Number 3. Now, has anybody ever read General Order Number 3? Okay? Because if you read the entire order, it's totally different than what they tell you in the news media. Okay, so here's an excerpt of what General Order Number 3 said. Quote, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. Now, 90% of the news media coverage that you see is going to stop right there. But like the commercials that sell you something that ends in 99 cents, but wait, there's more. It goes on to tell them to stay on the plantations and work out labor wages with your former slave master. And it says the relationship that was that of master and slave is now that of employer and hired hand. Okay, so it's telling them to stay on the plantations, work out labor wages, and it's telling them that they're not going to be allowed to hang around military posts of the Union because they didn't want them roaming around the countryside, things of this nature. Now, when news came that they were free, celebrations broke out. They broke out in celebration, exaltation, and jubilee, as you can imagine, because when 5 o'clock hits on Friday, we break out in the same thing. It's called happy hour, right? 5:01, we're in the parking lot. You see our tail lights driving out of the parking lot, okay? So even though everybody, all 250,000 enslaved Africans did not find out on June 19th that they were free. Freedom came on different days in 1865. So Houston, Texas, they didn't find out until June 20th because Major General Gordon Granger and his 2,000 Union troops, they're going all throughout Texas to physically bring Texas back into the Union. It took military force to enforce General Order Number 3. Austin, Texas, they didn't find out until June 23rd, okay? So June 19th became the agreed upon date to celebrate freedom coming there in Galveston, but in Texas as a whole. Now, in 1979, Texas became the first state to make Juneteenth a national holiday. Now, some people ask the question, well, why didn't they find out until June of 1865 that they were free, but General Robert E. Lee surrendered April 9, 1865? Because that's looked at as the date that the Civil War ends, right? That's looked at as the date the Civil War ends. Well, the Texas Confederate State Constitution of 1861. Anybody ever heard of the Texas Confederate State Constitution of 1861? That made it illegal to free slaves, even if you tried to free them in your last will and testament when you died. That's why there were 250,000 there. It was illegal to free them, okay? So why was it not the last day of slavery? Well, anybody studied the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution? When Georgia ratifies the 13th Amendment, December 6, 1865, that legally ends slavery, because you have to amend the U.S. Constitution. But it becomes adopted December 18, 1865. So Kentucky and Delaware don't abolish slavery until 6 months after Juneteenth. So how could Juneteenth be the last day of slavery? This is why you have to go read these original documents. You have to go to archives.gov, U.S. National Archives. Go to LOC.gov, Library of Congress, okay? And read the original documents. You can read General Order Number 3, you can read the U.S. Constitution, you can read the Emancipation Proclamation. Now, the Emancipation Proclamation was a military strategy that Lincoln was using to try to bring the South back into the Union. Okay, the goal of the Civil War was not to free the slaves. The goal was to bring the South back into the Union, and the Emancipation Proclamation changes the trajectory of the Civil War. But has anybody ever read the Emancipation Proclamation? Yeah. Okay, because so a few years ago, my mother called me and she said, have you ever read the Emancipation Proclamation? She said, I'm reading it and it has all of these exceptions in here. I said, yeah. I said, what do you think I've been talking about? So basically it was saying that the territories in rebellion, because this is during the Civil War 1861, 1865, it's saying that the territories that are in rebellion, if they did not come back into the Union by January 1st, 1863, their slaves would be set free. Okay? So the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation was September 22nd, 1862. Okay? This is a strategy to rob the Confederacy of their most important asset, their enslaved Africans. All right, so the border states, it tells you that the border states, like Maryland, Missouri, Kentucky, and Delaware, they're allowed to keep their slaves. Okay? Tennessee came back into the Union in 1862. Tennessee seceded, and they left the Union in 1861, came back in 1862. Tennessee didn't abolish slavery until February 22nd, 1865. That's 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, isn't it? Okay, so why isn't that talked about? We said, wait a second, Tennessee didn't abolish slavery 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Maryland didn't abolish slavery until November 1st, 1864. They put it on the ballot and it almost did not pass. Okay, that's almost 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So when you get in and study this history, you find out, one, the Emancipation Proclamation did not free the slaves. It's going to be the 13th Amendment when it's adopted December 18, 1865. Two, you're going to find out that all those 250,000 enslaved Africans didn't find out on one day that they were free. Okay? Because when I teach this history, I tell people, they were traveling on horseback. They weren't traveling Escalades. They didn't have the internet and social media. Everybody didn't find out on one day that they were free. But that became the agreed-upon date to commemorate freedom coming. So it's important to have these celebrations because they have been commemorating what happened June 19th. They've been commemorating that since 1866. In Texas, they've been celebrating that pretty much each year. Originally, it was called Jubilee Day or Texas Emancipation Day, Freedom Day. They had different names in different periods of time, all right? So when we have these celebrations, we have to incorporate the acronym called HELP, H-E-L-P. History, Economics, Law, and Politics. History, Economics, Law, and Politics. We have to correct the history of Juneteenth, and we have to protect the history of Juneteenth. And we can't allow it to become the black version of the 4th of July when we get a day off from work and we sit around, eat barbecue, drink, things of this nature. We have to put some purpose into it. We can have fun, we can have celebration, because when you study the early celebrations of Juneteenth, they had celebrations, but we have to put some purpose in it as well. Okay? So I want to drop that history on you. I'm historian and national political commentator Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network. Host the African History Network show. Visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can follow me on social media. My fan page, the African History Network on Facebook. I have 1 million followers. Facebook and fan base, and then on YouTube and my personal Facebook page, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. And watch me on Fridays on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I've been on 5 years. I've been in media 15 years. Where I provide historical and political analysis. So thanks for your attention. I hope you enjoyed learning today. All right, good. Good. Give a round of applause for everybody who helped organize and put this on. The rain is not going to rain on our parade today. All right, peace, man. That was 10 minutes and 8 seconds. Where's the reading? 10 minutes and 8 seconds.
This is a post that I did a few years ago dealing with Juneteenth, because after the death, after George Floyd was murdered, May 25th, 2020, that next month, Juneteenth was celebrated, and a lot of people learned about Juneteenth. A lot of African Americans learned about it who really didn't know about it, especially up north, because we were dealing with COVID. A lot of people were home, and Juneteenth took on a new meaning. I did this post on Facebook. I said reparations, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, voting rights, etc., are all connected to Juneteenth and the history of what happened after the Civil War. Okay, America needs a massive history lesson. So happy Juneteenth, happy Texas Emancipation Day, Jubilee Day, Freedom Day, and the fight continues. Hopefully you learned a lot from this presentation. You can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App. Visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and just scroll down the page. We have information. We have my bundle pack of my lectures, 15 DVD bundle pack, and it's in digital download format. African History Awakens the African Mind for Mental Death. But also you can register for my online classes that I teach as well, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. You can download the lesson plan here. I do that on Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But we also have my PayPal and Cash App information here. Okay, so this helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, and you can click on the link here. This is our Cash App account, $ the AHN show. It'll say Michael. It'll probably show my picture there. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. They've been stealing money from us. I'm still trying to get them shut down. When you click on our link here, this is our QR code for Cash App as well. So you can scan that if you want to support us. We definitely need the support that helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, etc. And then also for PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. All right. Well, look, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behaviors, not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for the birthday wishes as well. Okay. I guess 54 years went by quickly, I guess. So I don't feel any different today. I've lost, 35 pounds in the last couple of years, so I can fit back into clothes I haven't been able to fit back into in years. I worked out this morning, so I'm staying in shape. Okay. All right. Talk to y'all later. Peace.